'Twas the night before Christmas, right? Actually, this is night before New Year's. This is the long anticipated, much ballyhooed podcast where we're going to go and we're going to discuss what movies made the biggest imprint on us as geopolitical minds. So, what movies do we think are the most geopolitical? Now, what does that mean? Well, I think it means something different to you from what it means to me. I hope that every movie on this list is going to be able to carry a plot. You know, I remember there's that high bar. It's got to be a good movie, like, because otherwise you're not going to learn anything from it. So that should be in the mix. But ultimately, we have 6 categories in which we're going to put these movies into. The first category is war. Now, a lot of folks think that war movies are geopolitical movies. They may be, they may not be. A movie that focuses on like a platoon stuck in Afghanistan fighting off Taliban, is that geopolitical? No, it's a good movie. But is it geopolitical? Meh, probably not. That's okay. I'm just saying, like, war. Second, spies. Lots of spy movies are geopolitical. Collapse. Category of collapse is just destruction of a civilization, of a culture, of a country, of a friendship, of an ethnic bond, right? Fourth is insurgency. Lots of those. It can be also revolution. It can be upheaval, not collapse. Collapse is when something dies. Insurgency, revolution, is when something is actually kind of born, in a way, through violence. Fifth category. This is my favorite, Jacob. You're gonna see. I love this one. Incompetence, and 6 flags. What are flags about? Nation building, romantic nationalism, birth of a nation. Right. So we've got 6 here categories, and what we're gonna do is, Jacob, you're going to pick first. I'm going to pick second. So we're going to spend the most time on our big picks. And then we're going to try to do 20 movies each. And after each pick, I'm going to ask you, Jacob, where you want to put yours. And at the end, I'm going to like summarize what categories we have and what movies got into it. Now, just to be clear, for me, what I actually emphasized are the movies that inspired me to become interested in geopolitics. So that was category number 1. Category number 2 is that it's a good movie and I can rewatch it, like the Simmons rewatchables, right? I want movies that are on this list that, I'm going to rewatch. And that may mean that some really good artistic movies may not make the list for me. That's just me. And then third, I do like epic movies. I do have a soft spot for those. What about you, Jacob? What were your kind of like thinking?
Yeah, we had a very, very similar mode of thinking about it. I really struggled with, I think I have to add a category, or I want to propose adding a category, please. Because a few of my picks, as you'll see, really boil down to resources and competition over resources more than anything else. Although maybe you could like squeeze them into others, but you'll see when I make those picks why I think about resources. But yeah, for me, I mean, definitely, like, I could have easily just made this all epic movies, of course. Like, I think that's like completely natural. But good movies, ones that I could follow the plot, ones that like particularly inspired me. So not rating them as like, they don't even have to be the best geopolitical movies. Maybe they're not even about politics, but there has to be something about them that made me think differently, that has stuck with me, that like all of these are movies that I have rewatched several times just because like they affected me in a deep way.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to cede the first pick to you, Jacob.
Oh, so kind.
This is great honor, by the way. We've been telling our listeners we're going to do this for like a year. So lots of pressure. What is your number 1 pick for the most geopolitical movie ever?
And I kept on adding like movies to my list too, because like I went to sleep last night and I had 18 and I was happy with it, and then today I like added another 20. So like I hope you pick some of mine so that I can get through, because like we'll only go to 20, but like I have a list here of like 50 in front of me that I care very much about. But ironically, I think that the greatest movie of all time is also the greatest geopolitical movie of all time, is the movie that like got me interested in politics, that got me interested in espionage, that got me interested in black and white film. I'm starting to give it away. This movie is Casablanca. I think it is objectively the greatest movie of all time. In some sense, like Humphrey Bogart is my style icon, my personality icon. Like Rick is everything that I want to be. The cynical American who isolates himself in the middle of nowhere, eventually forced to choose and pick a side, and does it in classic fashion, turning away the girl, but still that the girl loves him at the end of the day. And just the takedown of the Germans, the takedown of Vichy France, which all gets to my personal life story, because my father was born in France, had a grandfather who fought in the French army, his brother was executed as part of the French resistance, so it all sort of comes together there for me. And Casablanca is just the best. So yeah, it's an easy pick for me.
I think it's a great pick. I think that's my dad's pick.
Yep.
And I think you have a very, very old soul. And I think it's a perfect pick for you. I am more Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer, I have to admit.
I've got those in there, but I started with Humphrey.
Yeah, well, no, listen, we went classic. You are right, one of the greatest movies ever made. For those for the people who haven't seen it, and a lot of our listeners are going to be like Gen Z, younger millennials whose parents maybe didn't see Casablanca and made them watch it. How would you describe it?
Man, it's different. And my parents never forced me to watch it. I remember vividly. I mean, I guess kids don't do this anymore. I remember it was a summer. I was in high school and I was home by myself one night because my parents were out, and I just turned on cable TV because we didn't have streaming yet. This was back when Netflix, they would send you the DVDs in the mail. I didn't have any Netflix DVDs that I could watch. And I forget, was it TNT or maybe it was even PBS?
Probably
I don't know
TNT.
Who was running it.
TNT, yeah, classics. Yeah.
And I was just sitting there watching, and I happened to start it at the very beginning. And I knew some of the lines, you can't exist as a human. I mean, maybe you could today, but you can't exist as a human being and not know the jokes in Casablanca. They're that famous. They've come into colloquialisms. And so, I was kind of like, oh, this is interesting. And then there's that scene where the girl that wants to see Rick, and she asks Rick what he's doing tomorrow, and he says, I never make plans that far ahead. And boom, I was in. I was like, this guy is the shit. I want to watch this guy. And then watching his tortured soul, eventually, he goes from total cynic, he's just going to use these people for his own self-interest, to actually, I'm going to help save the resistance against the Nazis and take out this big Nazi general, and I'm going to flip this Vichy guy. It was just captivating. And it's the other thing I like about it is it's the perfect length. It's not too long. It's not I love an epic movie. But this is epic without being overly epic or overly saccharine. The dialogue is just perfect. It's funny without being stilted. It just it hits it on all levels. So I would say it's if you want to understand why Hollywood became what it is, it's because of movies like Casablanca. And Casablanca itself has a really interesting history. Nobody thought it was going to be a hit. It was sort of this afterthought, and it happened to be it just touched a chord with people because of how true it was in its dialogue, and that's just incredible.
Apologies, I'm a little sick. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm going to try to gut this out. But that was a great opening. I'm going to definitely muck it up a little bit. I'm going to go down, but way down. You went top shelf. You went one of those scotches. You open the bottle and the bog hits you right in the face. If you it costs a lot of money. It's top shelf scotch. You can barely pronounce it, and you just taste the Scottish bog and the peat. I'm gonna go with a nice Japanese whiskey that tastes good. It's just made to be sweet. So I'm gonna go with every single movie right up until the 1990s that goes in the James Bond series.
That's awesome.
So yeah, my this really inspired me a lot when I was a kid. This is before YouTube, before on demand, before a lot of things. James Bond movies are obviously kitschy. They're obviously pop. They're pop. To Casablanca's small nuanced theater. But the truth is that each one of them had a small plot line that blew your mind. That if we had Wikipedia at the time, we would have spent hours searching and researching on. For example, just a small example, A View to a Kill, totally underrated movie. Roger Moore, Christopher Walken as the bad guy, the villain. Duran does the score. I mean, do I even have to go further? Filmed in 1985. The plot line is basically that Christopher Walken wants to drown Silicon Valley. 1985, James Bond, the Bond series tells the viewers this is the epicenter of geopolitical power. Not oil, not nuclear missiles, not Russia, not this, not that. It is Silicon Valley. I mean, that was really cool. Another small example of how meaningful these movies were. You Only Live Twice. Again, not probably the most well-known movie, but it depicted parts of Japanese life that, as a kid in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, growing up, you wouldn't have seen otherwise. Like James Bond was the movie you saw, you were like, oh my God, I saw a Japanese marriage ceremony where Roger Moore is married to a fake wife. 1989, License to Kill. Again, probably nobody ever really watched Timothy Dalton James Bond movie and said, wow, that was great. But in reference to our previous podcast where we talked about Cocaine Cowboys, the central thesis of that 1989 James Bond is cocaine, it's Latin America, it's CIA, it's narco traffickers. So I really wish that they went back to that, because the greatest thing about all of these old James Bond movies were these offhand references to geopolitics, history, nuance. And yes, I mean, these off references occurred amidst the cacophony of like bombs and boobies, like obviously, but you would get bathed in casual references to geopolitics that I think very few other series did. And of course, this is what every other spy series tried to emulate in some way, shape, or form. And I think poorly. I think in the 90s and the 2000s, we went into six packs, we went into superheroes. Every single movie was about saving the world. Whereas that wasn't really what James Bond was about. So I'm going to say James Bond is my second pick. All of the movies pre-1990s.
Yeah, and I love it. And I also, I mean, James Bond, I think is it's a wonderful adaptation too. Like, for example, like every story about George Smiley, these are the John le Carre novels for those of you who haven't read them, like, are wonderful. And none of those movies made my list. Because like they're fine, but like the books are what's incredible, and there really has not been a great adaptation. There's a new there's a new BBC series apparently coming out where they're going to try and take some John le Carre stuff and turn it into something good, which I'm really excited about. But like none of the John le Carre novels I think have been appropriately put in. Like The Spy That Comes in from the Cold, maybe pretty like okay, like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, like especially the remake, like Gary Oldman did great. It's the opposite with James Bond. Like James Bond, you get the novels and the movies elevate them and take them to another level.
Well, I think you and I come from a different perspective where we're very irreverent. I think a lot of people who would choose John le Carre take themselves way too fucking seriously. And that's why James Bond is so much better. Because you know what? The people who do the spying, the people on the ground, they're not actually superheroes. They're actually super flawed. And not in a John le Carre way where they're like flawed as humans. No, they're like idiots. They want boobies and bombs. They're simplistic. They're humans, And so that's why I think James Bond is actually more like real life than the John le Carre novel, because I think he cared too much about the subject of his books and wasn't ready to either mock or caricature them. And I think that was his problem. Yeah. It's too serious. And you know what? I'm somewhat surprised none of those movies made your list. None of them made my list.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a lot of heat from people who take this shit way too seriously. They're going to come after us. All right. You take the third pick.
All right. If, I'm lucky enough to be alive here in 2025, because 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to pick the only adaptation available for this movie. But in some ways, and this one could go in war, it could go in resources, it could go in a bunch of different categories. But it's Dune.
Great pick.
They just did such a good job.
You stole my pick?
I cannot wait for the third one that's going to come out in a year or two. My only gripe, and I get why he did it, because Dune as a novel is so overwhelming. You have to pick something to focus on. and Denis, I can't pronounce his last name, but I don't know him on a first name basis. But I'm just going to call him Denis Villeneuve. Yeah. Okay, there you go. I should be able
now we sound like those, those like Hollywood podcasts, like, oh yeah, Danny, and Denis. I had a coffee in West Hollywood, and he just said to me,
I wish. For April Fools, when I was still working for George, I wrote a piece called The Geopolitics of Dune. It's still maybe the best thing I've ever written, like using geopolitics to forecast the future of Paul and everything that was going to happen. But anyway, I was going to say, like, Villeneuve, like, in the movies, he focuses really on the religious, charismatic figure and about how religion is something to be distrusted. And he de-emphasizes the guild, and some of these other elements. Now, the David Lynch version from the 1980s, which is objectively one of the worst movies of all time, which it's one of those rare movies that is so bad that it's worth watching. Like, it's in that category for me.
You watch it because it's bad. I know exactly what you mean.
It's incredible.
It's epic.
It's like early Patrick Stewart with a mullet. Sting is running around. Like, there's just so much to unpack in that one. But that one tries to do all of Dune. It tries to do the Spacey Guild. It tries to do the politics. It tries to do this. Like, Villeneuve, like, he wants to focus just on religious demagoguery, and then he uses the Dune universe, and he does it perfectly. That makes it slightly less geopolitical because we're not talking so much about the spice and, like, resource competition and all of the different machinations, but it's still amazing. And, like, Dune is the beginning, like, it's based on Middle East oil politics from the 1950s and 60s. It's grown up Star Wars. It's the thing that comes before all these other science fiction, space operas and things like that. Like, a lot of the totems that we carry that we think are Star Wars are really Dune. So I think it belongs here.
It's so I had Casablanca as an honorable mention because I'm just not fond of old movies, and this is where you're an old soul, and I think you're going to have more sophisticated picks than I will. Yeah. But I also picked Dune. I picked Dune 8th. You picked it 2nd. Yeah. This is quite possibly, on average, the highest pick we have. And the reason I would say it's so high for both of us, we can't actually say it. You can't verbalize it. But what you're basically saying is this. It's very difficult to make a movie about the entire world throughout history forever.
Yeah.
You have to create a fake world to do that. And that's what the books do and what movies try to do. And that's why this is perhaps the greatest geopolitical movie, precisely because it's not about our planet. It's almost like creating a model simulation to teach young geopolitical strategists what geopolitics is, because they don't have the historical empirical data of our own world. So we create a simplistic version of it and feed it to them. And that's what Dune does. It does all of this. War, spies, collapse, insurgency, incompetence, flags, resources. We cannot classify Dune because it's the only movie on our list, Jacob, that's going to actually encapsulate all of them. And I love the fact that we both agree. By the way, where would you put Casablanca out of all categories? Spies?
Ooh. Well, it's a little bit of war. It's a little bit of spies, but really, I think it's flags. I think it's U.S. It's the U.S. propaganda. It's our image of ourselves in World War II, like cynical, not wanting to engage, dragged into it against our own will, and then eventually, okay, fine, like, let's do this shit, and we're gonna fuck everybody up. Like, once we decide to do it, and we're gonna look good doing it. We're gonna wear a fedora and walk into the good night as we do it.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the next pick. My first two picks are super kitschy in a way. If you go and Google best geopolitical movie, this one comes up. And I genuinely think it's amazing. It's Syriana. So Syriana is my second pick, our fourth pick. So this is the Traffic of Geopolitics. Of course, Traffic and Syriana were both done by the great Steven Soderbergh. Oh, no, sorry, my bad. Stephen Gaghan. My bad. Intriguingly, Gaghan also did Doolittle. So he went Traffic, Syriana, Doolittle. But, gotta get paid.
Respect.
You're right. It's loosely based on a book by former CIA spy Robert Baer called See No Evil. And it's one of these movies that goes through various different like segments. It's about oil politics of the 1990s. It's extremely well done. And what I really love about it is that it teaches you, um, it doesn't really teach you about how the world works. It teaches you how it doesn't work, that it's messy, interests of countries are not clear. And it's from that mess that we get what ends up mattering. Um, Clooney won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Role. I actually think Jeffrey Wright should have won it. He did a really good job. Matt Damon, his role in Syriana. There are many times in my life, in my job, where I felt that I was close to what Matt Damon is in this movie, except of course far less sexy than Matt. But yeah, Syriana, safe pick. I would say this is a safe pick. This is the kid coming out of college with the best, basically record. It's on a lot of lists. But I do think that what makes it amazing is that it weaves these stories in a very sophisticated way.
Can I confess something to you?
You've never seen it.
I have never seen Syriana. Like when I started to do research and stuff like that, like it's now on my list, like watch over the holiday, because like this one, I missed this one. It's just not on my radar.
It has a lot of small scenes, Jacob, that you're gonna like be confused why they're there. For example, Jeffrey Wright plays a DC a lawyer/lobbyist, and he has this alcoholic father who's always on his doorstep. And you're like, what does this have to do with anything? But it actually shows the disconnect between a lot of these people who are very successful in that Virginia, Maryland, DC triangle and real life. Mm-hmm. Like how geopolitics, intelligence, that world that we sometimes inhabit, it actually dehumanizes you. And that's what I think that father-son combination was about. Mm-hmm. So anyways, you'll love it. I think you'll get through the pop culture of it and get to the deepness. All right, my friend, fifth pick.
I mean, so my list is pretty eclectic, and I know you say I'm going to come off the top shelf, and maybe these are all top shelf movies, but this one may surprise people, maybe it won't surprise people. People who have been listening to me for a long time know this movie is high up on any list of movies for me. It's Blade Runner. And the more we get into the 2020s, the more it feels like Blade Runner is our future. I think it's geopolitical. I mean, when you think about the streets of Los Angeles and about, at the time it was that we were worried about Japan taking over the world. So you've got the weird like Japanese language with the American language with the noodles and all the other stuff. You've got the climate change aspect of it. You've got the replicants. It like really anticipates AI and robotics in ways that are really, really on the nose. Same thing with energy. It's also a breakdown of the order as it was before, what that looks like going forward. If Elon Musk is successful and we start mining off-world and creating colonies off-world, Blade Runner is going to be the blueprint for that. It just like had me thinking on lots of different levels. It was also what got me into the Philip Dick oeuvre, if you will, which is also a whole like geopolitical thing in and of itself. So it's a door opener there. And it's the rare movie where the sequel, just as if not better than the original Blade Runner 2049. I think the sequel might be a better movie overall. I think it is less geopolitical, or at least it's further down the collapse. Like we have less national distinctiveness or geopolitical color, because when Deckard just walks down the street in the first one and you got the noodle shop and the snake shop and everything else, like it's profoundly geopolitical. It's giving you a perspective on what the future looked like to the world in the 1980s. Like 2049, no, it's actually much more about what are replicants, what is AI, what is our relationship with robots, how do we think about these things? Like still amazingly excellent. Like I said, it probably hangs together as a better movie, but I think the original Blade Runner is like one of the most geopolitical movies of our time, and really one of the only ones that wrestles in a meaningful way with the intersection between geopolitics and technology and AI, which makes it even more relevant today. So,
I love the pick. I love the movies, both of them, and they are eminently rewatchable. Harrison Ford is absolutely stunning in both, and Ryan Gosling, I think maybe his best role ever. So great pick.
Yeah,
really.
I hope Ryan Gosling comes on the pod. I hope we get big enough that Ryan Gosling comes on the podcast. I feel like he's my spirit animal. I love that guy. What a great guy.
He is really awesome. And that was a great movie. All right, I'm going to go with one that I'm almost certain you do not have.
Mm.
So this is my first move into the more top shelf, less pop. I mean, I led with James Bond and the obvious pick, Syriana. My third pick is The Last of the Mohicans.
Lovely.
You know?
Number eight on my list.
Oh
So
my
you
God!
and I are
So
together.
I think it takes over from the man. No, Dune is still I think higher.
I'm gonna have our producer splice in the theme music right now.
You're right now. I mean, look. What are you gonna say? You got John Rice Davis, who. No, what am I talking about? My bad. Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
I'm sorry. No, John Rice Davis, completely different human being.
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis, who basically does a movie like the Halley's Comet, once every 4 years, in just an incredible role. Just lots of hair, lots of chest, lots of collarbone exposed. And it's a love story. It is a historical movie. It's incredible acting. The score that you're referring to is one of the best movie scores ever. And what I love about it is that it shows the actual birth of the nation. That's what I think it's about. It shows America being born on the battlefield between France and the United Kingdom for the control of North America. I personally think the French-Indian War, as it's called, is the most important war, perhaps in human history. You and I speak English today because of this conflict. Of course, the United Kingdom ended up defeating France, but at a huge cost. And both the United Kingdom and France actually had to retrench globally because of it, and ultimately led to the revolution in France because it bankrupted the country. And in the United Kingdom, it led to the revolution, to the American Revolution, because they had to squeeze the colonies to pay for this insane war. I also think it's one of the best depictions of siege warfare. Just generally depiction of 19th century norms and values. In particular, France and the United Kingdom are fighting as equals, as empires, and as gentlemen. That is very eminently illustrated in this movie. They are gentlemen. Whereas the Americans and the Native Americans are fighting as lovers, as fathers, as patriots, and they're fighting with that romantic nationalism. And I thought that dichotomy between Europe and the New World, I mean, I just got goosebumps. I don't even know why I didn't pick this as number one. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's one of the best epic movies of all time. It's based on the James Fenimore Cooper novel, and I still have memories of going to my grandmother's house when I was a little kid, before I even knew the movie existed, and reading old copies of Last of the Mohicans. I think also geopolitical analysts, especially American ones, I think we don't focus enough on geopolitical lessons from the Native Americans themselves, and the clash between the Native Americans and the French and the English and eventually the American nation. I just picked up, I was reading this book on some of my travels last week. It's called Lakota America, A New History of Indigenous Power. I'm only 2 chapters in, but it's blowing my mind, one of the better books I've read. And it actually tries to integrate geopolitics and talk about the Lakota and the Iroquois and all these different shifting alliances between the British and the French. Yeah, you're right. Last of the Mohicans gets into that subject in a way that very few movies do. And it's one of those movies too where, it's absolutely brutal. The actual plot, there's no yes, the guy gets the girl at the end. Sorry if I'm spoiling it, but it's about as brutal a movie as it comes. And yet it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't quite feel that way, it doesn't. It's honest to the brutality of the time, but then also it's not so bad that it makes you turn away, if that makes sense.
Also, obviously Mangwa is the bad guy, one of the baddest bad guys in movie history. But it's difficult. Throughout the entire movie, villains become, you sympathize with them. When you hear Mangwa's story, why he's so hell-bent on violence, you sympathize with him. And of course, the British officer who had the hots for the girl, he ultimately turns to be maybe the bravest person in the entire movie. And you hate him. You hate him with such disdain for his snobbish, just, colonial arrogance. And then at the end, you're like, wow. And I just think the point of the movie is that you may have been something else over there. But when you come here, the wild takes you. That's the point of the movie. And I think it's incredible. We could honestly just keep talking about this and not do the rest, but we can't do that because you got like 800 more movies to go.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm only going to go to I'm only going to go to your list, and then I'll throw in a bunch of honorable mention. I'm going to reach to the top shelf for one or two more from the epic category, and then things might start to get a little bit weird. For me, with my background, you might think, we already know this with Dune, so talking about oil, Middle East politics, it's one of the reasons it's kind of strange I haven't come across Syriana. But the next two movies for me, I watched during college when I was doing my degree in Middle Eastern studies. Like these were the movies that animated me. The first, maybe no surprise, is Lawrence of Arabia, the original epic, the great epic. It takes some liberties. It's not perfect, but like Peter O'Toole's amazing. Like it's just a different kind of movie, and it opens you up to the Arab world and about the cynicism and the way that the Western powers took advantage of all of these different Arab groups during World War I. It like breaks apart that noble story. And then you also, anybody who fancies themselves a Middle East scholar who is a white guy and an American, you have to like T.E. Lawrence. Like you have to like the guy who goes native, because if you're choosing to do that in college like I was, you're kind of choosing to go native. Like you want to throw in with them, and it does a really good job, I think, of expressing why that was so attractive. So Lawrence of Arabia.
Won 7 Oscars. And the inspiration of this movie and its influence on later filmmakers is perhaps one of the greatest. George Lucas was greatly inspired. Many, many others. It was number 17 on my list, reflecting that I don't know, it's just something about me. I think my sister really loved old movies when we were kids. And so she made me watch them, and I was always annoyed by that. So I have PTSD. She's like 3 years older and was like much bigger than me for most of my life. So, but I totally agree with you. It's an incredible movie. All right. My next one, you already know it. I don't have to spend much time. I gushed about it when we did our most geopolitical sport events. It's 2005 Munich.
Yep. So where was this for me? This was number 21 on my list. So honorable mention category, but very, very good.
Steven Spielberg at his finest. Eric Bana, Daniel Craig, Ciarán Hinds. Is it geopolitical? Yeah, I think it is. I think first it illustrates how fleeting is the idea that is Israel. How ephemeral it is, and how vulnerable it is, and how hard Jews have to fight to have it. At the same time, it shows that fight itself is a danger to Israel and its soul. And that is really characterized by Eric Bana's struggle in this movie and what happens to him mentally. And I think that, the ending is one of the best endings of any movie ever. Eric Bana is asked the question, what did you learn? And it's really Steven Spielberg asking us, like, what did you learn? And the final image of the movie is the Twin Towers. Right. It's an amazing movie. And I just wish that Bibi had watched this movie on repeat.
Yeah. It's also, Mossad had a tough couple of decades there, really redeemed themselves here with Hezbollah and Iran and everything else. But like Munich was their arguably was their last big thing, because after Munich, it's just intelligence failure after intelligence failure, whether it's the Lebanon War, whether it's Hamas and the Intifadas and everything. Then you got 2006. Like it's just like one mistake after another, and you kind of wonder. The Eric Bana character has to get his hands dirty. Today it's just drones and beepers and things like that. So maybe the Eric Bana character today is some coder in a basement somewhere blowing people up with their pagers. Like maybe you don't have that same sort of thing. But the answer is we haven't learned anything, of course.
Yep. Great point. The 70s were good for the Mossad. There was Entebbe as well. There's a movie about it. Not as good as Munich. But did not put that on the list.
I'm going to move up a movie here just to, it was number 14 on my list, but I'm going to shove it in here because I think it's worth talking about, which is, and this is, now we're going to go off the beaten track a little bit with me. This is Waltz with Bashir. This might be the only animated movie that we have in the entire list. I don't know if you have any animated movies. This is a 2008 film. It describes itself as an animated war documentary, and it's about an Israeli soldier who is in the 1982 Lebanon War and is at the massacre at Sabra and Shatila, but can't remember it. And it's about him trying to talk to his friends in the army and piece together like what actually happened and where he was there, because his mind has just completely blocked it out. And you might think, animated, really? Like I am still haunted by this movie as a like what war does to men, the PTSD of having to make these horrible decisions. Like you're caught on a geopolitical mistake. Like what does a geopolitical mistake look like on the ground? What did the massacre at Sabra and Shatila actually achieve? It's just a really beautiful and poignant film. So if you're thinking already in the Munich land, like here's an update and sort of a modern interpretation of what it meant to be a soldier on the ground too, not just a spy.
I'm going to stick with that same category of just goosebumps, eeriness, uncomfort, discomfort. And I'm going to pick Der Untergang, Downfall, 2004 movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorite history books of all time is Ian Kershaw's The End, Hitler's Germany, 1944-45. In it, Kershaw tries to answer why Germany fought to the end, because it's not actually obvious and it's not common. Countries do not fight until the last man. They just don't. Nobody does, ever. But Germans did in like the 20th century. And so Ian Kershaw tries to answer that question, but Downfall did it for him. And now, unfortunately, thanks to the internet, the Hitler freakout in this movie has become a meme. But don't let the unintentional comedy of that scene kind of confuse you. This is a very eerie movie. I actually wrote that same word you used in my notes, eerie. I loved, of course, Bruno Ganz as Hitler, but I think that Ulrich Mattes as Goebbels is absolutely incredible. His eyes have no irises. He's the epitome of evil. Why is it geopolitical? I mean, I'm fascinated by Nazi Germany. How did such a sophisticated, in many ways, such a liberal society become so evil? Why am I fascinated by it? Can it happen to us? And the answer should be hell yes. Stop being evil. The other thing I would say is that I think the translation Downfall doesn't do it justice. The actual translation should be collapse, even doom. That's really what Untergang is meant to mean. By the way, what did Kershaw conclude in his book? The book concludes that Nazis effectively believed so firmly in natural selection and competition that when they failed, they ultimately wanted Germany to die. They wanted their countrymen to die. And there's this great scene in that movie where Hitler says that, like, Germans are not worthy. They must all die because they failed the test that I gave them. So to anyone who glorifies the Third Reich, like, just let that sit there. Hitler hated his own people. He wasn't pro-Germany. He wasn't pro-white. He wasn't pro-West. He was an absolute abomination. And this movie shows him as the modern Antichrist. So yeah, but I guess that's kind of cool. There, I did it.
Yeah, you did it. Good. I'm glad you're getting braver there. Not on my list. You can tell on my list, like I could have probably done a list just of Holocaust, World War II kind of stuff, and I stayed away from it a little bit because it's also my own personal life story on my dad's side of the family. So I have a weird relationship with movies that are about World War II, and it's one of the reasons why Casablanca is so great, because it accesses it for me with humor in a way that I can actually deal with it. Like some of the other ones, it's just too like there's no Schindler's List on my list of things. There's no The Pianist, like any of these others. Like I can't engage at that same level, but it might just be me. All right, well, the last in my Middle East theme here is going to be the Battle of Algiers, which is the movie about insurgency. Like, it's the best movie about insurgency, period. It's about the FLN and eventually Algeria's independence from France. It reconstructs a time period between roughly 1954 and 1957 where FLN, the National Liberation Front in Algeria, is rising. The French send in paratroopers to attack them. It goes back and forth between the increasingly escalating atrocities that these groups commit against each other. It goes after civilians. It goes after like everything else. And the coda is an incredibly powerful coda. It basically talks about how, the French claim that the paratroopers have neutralized the threat in Algiers, and a couple of years later, Algeria declares independence. So France wins the Battle of Algiers, but loses the war. And as sort of France's last colonial gasp, and like just a really interesting look at, how insurgencies happen in these sorts of areas, like really interesting. And to your point, very easily could also lead to a shot of 9/11 in some sense. Like it anticipated a lot of different things. So.
What I find fascinating about this movie, which I watched many years ago as a young kid, is that it was actually financed by the Algerian government in many ways. Mm-hmm. But it depicts the FLN extremely brutally. So it does not pull punches. And so you don't really walk away from this movie knowing who's the bad guy or who's the good guy. Like both are clearly shown doing atrocities. It was my number 9. So
okay. There you go.
My number 8 was Dune. My number 9 was this. Okay. So yeah, like it's appropriately ranked pretty high. All right, my next one is going to be probably the most obscure. Well, no, definitively most obscure because very few people speak the language that the movie was produced in. So this is very, very personal to me. And I would say it's the only movie from the Balkans that depicts the war that destroyed the country that I was born in, Yugoslavia, that I think are worthy of being anywhere here. And this is called Pretty Village, Pretty Flame. Pretty Village, Pretty Flame. And the plot is very simple. A group of Bosnian Serb soldiers is trapped in a disused highway tunnels. Muslim Bosniak soldiers surround them. And then they're forced to fend for themselves for days. But in those days that they're kind of trying to stay alive, we get flashbacks to show how each one of them got into the tunnel, into that situation. It's controversial because it was financed by the Slobodan Milosevic government. Like straight up, just here's some money, make a movie. And what came out, however, is what I think is actually the most fair depiction of the war. It absolutely presents Serbs in a very bad light, as they should be when it comes to Bosnia. So, movie financed by the Milosevic government, but depicting Serbs, like Serbs depicting themselves in a very negative light. They're shown ethnically cleansing villages. I mean, the whole, like the title, Pretty Village, Pretty Flame, references their ethnic cleansing that they're doing before they get stuck in the tunnel. I think that if you want to watch a movie that kind of gets at some of the core issues, those exposés when those soldiers kind of explain how they got to where they are, each one of them is a piece of fabric that puts together the explanation for why the war started. And unlike a lot of art and a lot of commentary during that time, it absolutely dispels the notion that foreigners, the West, America, had anything to do with the war. It lays the blame very clearly at the feet of the people in the Balkans themselves, which is hard to do, but very painful, very emotional, amazing movie. Really highly recommend it.
No, I'm adding it to my list. I have no notes because I'd never even heard of it. So here's another one that I get to watch over the holiday. So this is great for me. Okay, I'm so pleased that you didn't steal this one from me yet, because this one goes like, this is one of the, for me at least personally, is one of the most haunting movies I've ever watched. I think about it like all the time, and I can't count the number of times that I've watched it. And it's The Last King of Scotland. It's a movie.
Nice.
I believe Forest Whitaker won the Oscar for his depiction of Idi Amin. It hits like home with me personally because the end of the movie depicts Entebbe. It's about a fictional character who is actually based on some real life characters, who basically is the Scottish guy who becomes Idi Amin's doctor and watches Idi Amin slowly descend from well-meaning, nationalist leader to completely batshit insane dictator who's just doing increasingly heinous and horrible things and corrupting everything around him and all the promise around him. and just like Forrest Whitaker is incredible. James McAvoy plays the Scottish doctor. He is incredible. Like just
He's
the
so
duel
good.
between
He's so
them,
good.
the
Yeah.
way they both get so
Yes.
twisted and wrapped into it, and like it's just like it's haunting. It's one of the best, and it also gets you into Africa. It gets you into colonialism. It gets you into feeling conflicted about, okay, like Idi Amin stood for something, but then he has this downfall, and it's almost like emulating the Western. It's just great. It's
well, and a couple of things. I didn't have it on my top 20. I had it in honorable mentions, and I didn't know how to make it geopolitical. But now I'm kind of kicking myself because you just did. It's like Downfall. It's the same thing, but there's also an element of colonialism, anti-colonialism. And it's one of many movies on our list, by the way, Jacob, that I would say harken back to the 70s. There's something about 70s
Yeah, there's a lot of
that
them.
creates great plot lines for geopolitical movies. In fact, my next pick is not exactly 70s, but it is the 80s. And it's one that many will just nod and say, safe pick, Charlie Wilson's War.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly that. It's a cute movie. It's a rare film that manages to combine geopolitics, domestic politics, a spy flick, and just good old plot progression. You know what I mean? It's like a movie that can dribble, shoot, and rebound. Has range. It's got everything. It's a true story, which is incredible. That's what's crazy. This one American congressman from Texas, like, pulls America into Afghanistan with sheer force. Now, Aaron Sorkin wrote the screenplay, which makes sense as it ties lots of things together and has a great pace to it, just like The Social Network, perhaps his finest movie. Now, in many ways, it is the purest geopolitical film that we have on our list. It is purely about geopolitics. However, the reason I don't think it's the best is that it puts too much emphasis on Charlie Wilson. And I suspect it had to do that in order to, get people not named Jacob Shapiro and Marco Papic to like watch. So yeah, I also Philip Seymour Hoffman is absolutely incredible. Like, God bless him. Like, what a steals every scene.
Yeah. No, this actually did not make my list, but it's very good. Like, it probably should have made my list. But it's lighter. It's lighter. Like it's hard for me to, like, to your point, like it really does focus too much on the aw shucks Charlie Wilson aspect of it.
Yeah.
It just gets annoying to me after a while.
Yeah, like hiring hot blondes. We get it. Like, we get it after the first time we're shown that. Like, we can move on.
We don't need it anymore. Anyway. All right, my next two are very, very resource driven. They're not typically geopolitical in any meaningful way, but they're about resources. And I think in the way that they're about resources, they are explicitly geopolitical. So my first resource-driven one, it's my second Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm going to claim There Will Be Blood. And talking about like the making of America, talking about the rise of the first American oil empire. We're living through the second one right now, but thinking about the United States when like the oil boom is happening, what that actually looked like, the type of people who succeeded, what success did to them or didn't do to them, how they didn't change. All these towns and communities that go from nothing to basically nothing, but get something along the way because they happen to be on oil, taking the money away from them, speculators, and then of course you just get Daniel Day-Lewis, and one of the greatest scorers of all time too. Like we talked about Last of the Mohicans, like here's Daniel Day-Lewis getting to cook to yet another one of the greatest scorers of all time. So not typically geopolitical, like there's nothing here but the American frontier and a bunch of oil, but oil's literally what makes the world go round. This is the most important resource of the past 100 years, and this is the movie about that resource, full stop.
That's fair. It's a great movie. My next one is another cute one. I like the way you call Charlie Wilson's War cute.
It's cute. It is cute.
It's cute. It really is. Argo.
Very cute. Yeah.
Yeah, just a great movie. You can rewatch it on the plane. I love it because it really nails the feeling of the 70s. It's basically, I see my dad in Ben Affleck. He looks exactly like him when he was in his 30s. I think it's just a really, really good movie. It makes you like get lost in Wikipedia for hours afterwards, which is what a good movie should do. It shows how thinking big is really rewarded. It's a true story. It shows the CIA in many ways in a completely different light from what Syriana or some of the other movies I'm going to pick soon show it.
Mm-hmm.
Intriguingly, of course, the movie did find out. The movie came out in 2012, but in 2016, Vice, the independent media group, found out that the CIA public relations arm was actually involved in the production of Argo. And finally, as a Canadian, I do have to say that if there is one major criticism, it is that this was really Canada's plan. It wasn't CIA's plan. It was Canadian officials who were risking their lives to save their American peers. And it was really Canadian Ambassador Ken Taylor who was the hero. Ben Affleck's character was in Tehran for a day. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, cute movie, good movie. It'll do the job.
The thing I remember most about Argo is not the movie itself, but is about Quentin Tarantino's reaction to Ben Affleck winning Best Director for was it the Golden Globe for Best Director in 2012? Because he beat
Academy. He won the Oscar.
No. He didn't win Best Director. Argo won Best Film, but Affleck
right,
didn't get Best Director for the Academy Awards, but he did for the Golden Globes. And I don't know if you've ever seen this, if you haven't, go look at Quentin Tarantino's reaction to Affleck winning the Golden Globe for Best Director in 2012. This is the year Tarantino put out Django, Spielberg put out Lincoln, Zero Dark 30 also came out that year, and Catherine Bigelow was nominated, and they gave it to Ben Affleck for Argo, which I think Quentin's got some beef there, at least to talk about. My second one, I could have chosen. You might take a couple of these later on, but I wanted to hold myself and be specific, and it goes back into my resource picks. Is Mad Max Furiosa. Could have gone Fury Road. Could have gone with any of the original ones, but I like Furiosa because you get the bullet farm, and you get the food, and you get the gas town, and the relationship between the three of them, and we actually get to see where the paradise is, where all the women are living together, and the map on her arm, and how she's trying to get back and forth, and it's this closely guarded secret so that nobody can get back to her, and just this three-way. It really is a three-body problem, like with Chris Hemsworth and I forget the name of the other guy, but anyway, the three actors that are all playing against each other. It's dystopia and everything else, like in the middle of Australia, and it's a very particular genre. But if you're thinking about geopolitics in a laboratory, to your point, it's not nearly as complicated as Dune, but it's just let's reduce it all to just food, guns, oil, and let's go. Let's see what happens in a really crazy car driven apocalyptic world. So
I like it. I mean, I think your picks are a lot more dark than mine are. I got some dark ones too, like Downfall, Pretty Village, Pretty Flame, very heavy movie. But I'm now in a different zone. Right now I'm in cute zone. Perhaps the cutest of all the picks, Burn After Reading, is my next pick.
Another cute one. I get it.
And first of all, Coen brothers are my two gods. So first of all, South Park is one deity I bow down to. The other one are the Coen brothers. I love absolutely everything they put out. And what they do here is they absolutely deconstruct the American intelligence and public sector. Just destroy it. They show it as incompetent, arrogant, egoistical, completely out of touch, elitist, self-centered, shallow. Joel Malkovich portrays an arrogant CIA official. He keeps writing his memoirs, which open up in Belgrade, And I always think of him when I think about is Donald Trump right to fire third of State Department? Is it though? The bottom line is that everyone gets kind of really piled on by the Coen brothers, the intelligence, the law enforcement. George Clooney is this terrible U.S. Marshal. And in many ways, it's like a comedian's version of Traffic, where it weaves all these stories, but they're incompetent stories. And it really would headline my incompetence category. And what's interesting is that neither one of us wants to elevate a John le Carre movie, because I think that both of us have a much more nihilist and just we don't have a romanticized view of the intelligence world. And we know that it's effectively not, it's not really inhabited by James Bond and people like him. It's really inhabited by guys like John Malkovich in Burn After Reading. So I think it's actually much more profound than people think. Anyone
Yeah,
who believes in conspiracy theories should watch Burn After Reading. Anybody who believes in a conspiracy theory should watch this movie, because what it tells you is that conspiracy theories are not true because they're crazy. They're not true because the people who supposedly conspire to create them are incompetent, first and foremost.
yeah. You're right that my list thus far has been fairly dark, and I actually was about to, if you were like watching movie by movie, I was about to launch into a palate cleanser of three in a row that are going to be a palate cleanser. But before I get there, because we're talking about intelligence now, I'm going to bump up my two intelligence movies into the spot, and I'm just going to deploy them both back now, because for me, the only two that are really intelligence driven that were on my list. First is a movie that I think objectively is not a great movie. It's just one that I particularly liked, but like I think it got fairly mixed reviews. But it's The Good Shepherd, with Matt Damon again and Angelina Jolie, about the creation of the CIA, about what this does to the Matt Damon character, how the way he betrays his own son in the context of, fighting for his nation, goes through like everything from Skull and Bones all the way up to the 60s and the 70s. A really good one there. And then 3 Days of the Condor is my other spy movie. It's a classic Robert Redford movie. Robert Redford is part of the CIA team that's just like reading stuff in an office, and they all get taken out, and Redford escapes, and he has to figure out who it is, and he figures out that there's this off-book other group that's trying to like some shenanigans in the Middle East with oil, and he's trying to stay one step ahead of them. And it's one of the great closing scenes of all time in spy movies, because he says he's going to whistle blow, he's going to leak everything, he's told the New York Times everything, and the guy like shouts after him, and how do you know it's going to come out? And then we just cut to black. Like we don't like it. It really, like if you're talking about cynical and about like the life of spies and everything else, like those are the two on my list. So I'll throw them in there now.
Well, I'm not throwing this in because you did this, but I'm going to do it because it was my next pick. Another Redford classic, Spy Game.
Yeah, also great.
Great movie. What I like about Spy Game, although again, it would be seen far more cuter than The Good Shepherd or the 3 Days of the Condor, which are more serious. What I love about Spy Game is that it shows again chaos of geopolitics, the uncertainty of it. Tony Scott crushes it. Brad Pitt is also in the movie. The bad guys are the Chinese. That's what's interesting.
Yeah.
And basically, the CIA does not want to scuttle the upcoming WTO negotiations. So Robert Redford has to do it on his own. Quite an unrealistic conclusion, an American rescue op in Chinese territory. But I think that it shows tradecraft really well. Even though it's Hollywood, even though it's Brad Pitt and Robert Redford, the scenes where Brad Pitt is training Robert Redford are really good. It shows how much of this is just salesmanship, being able to ask a girl where she got her dress, being able to ask an old lady if she can show you the view from her balcony. Like, that's what tradecraft is. It's not like John Le Carre, like, oh, I'm a tortured man who must, shut up already, for God's sakes. I like it because it is both lighthearted, it has a light theme, and it handles its subject matter without trying to make these people some sort of modern day Olympians. He makes them just humans. And I like that.
Thank God Bill Ackman is not treating the generation of intelligence analysts how to walk up to a woman and ask them for information, because I don't think "May I meet you" is going to quite do it, my man. Anyway, just had to throw that in there. Okay, you ready for your palate cleanser? I've got 3 in a row that are fairly light. Like Casablanca was light too, but we went dark. Like Last King of Scotland and Mad Max. Like you're like, wow, Jacob. Like how are you even like saying anything optimistic about the world? My next one for my palate cleanser, also one of the greatest movies of all time, is The Sound of Music.
Wow! What a great pick, Jacob! I am killing myself for not picking that. Yes.
Also, like I'm from, Austrian Jewish family, so we weren't exactly, the Von Trapp family singers. I often joke, by the way, that the Von Schaap family singers will be our Halloween costume here in the Shapiro household. But yes, Austrian family, in the context of the Anschluss. Goes to show you how idyllic life was, what it meant for someone to stand up to the Nazis. It meant you lose everything. It meant you lose your nice house, you lose your your nice cars, your relationships. Like, yes, like he's saluted for his Edelweiss after he runs away, but he literally loses everything and has to hike over the Alps with his children. Like, I can't even get my kids on a plane for an hour. This guy's going over the Alps and like singing the whole time. Like, give me a break. But yeah, a palate cleanser, but also a really serious movie about what it means to stand up for something, with Julie Andrews singing the whole time.
It's an incredible pick. I always think of the Geopolitics, and the great thing about this is it draws you in when you're a kid. It's not about a nanny who falls in love with her boss and the kids singing. No, no, no. It's about darkness. There's a darkness. And as a kid growing up in Yugoslavia, I like really this was a very impactful movie for me. By the way, we kind of skipped the order.
It's not about, like, just your point. It's not about Julie Andrews so much as it is about Liesel and Rolf. Like the little love story where, you know, she likes him and it looks like things are going good, and then suddenly he's a Nazi and oops, like doesn't work anymore. Like, yeah,
that's a great point.
Love ruined.
No, I love this. This should be elevated higher. So you chose The Good Shepherd at 19. I took Spy Game at 20. We took 3 Days of the Condor at 21. So I actually have to pick one at 22 before the Sound of Music.
Go, please.
I feel bad to do it because it's kind of no. Actually, I think this is a great movie. Braveheart.
Oh, it's there for me.
Braveheart, first of all, the worst historical movie ever done because it's absolutely inaccurate. It makes no sense whatsoever. But Mel Gibson, whatever you think of him, can move the goddamn plot along.
You can. Well, the battle tactics, though, are pretty real, no? Like in terms of a depiction of warfare at the time.
I think everything was done poorly. But it doesn't matter because of all the movies on this list, it's the one with the greatest geopolitical impact. It literally single-handedly increased nationalism in Scotland. And how can it not? It increased Scottish nationalism in me. I became a Scottish nationalist because it's such a good, simple movie. They kill and rape his girl. You know what I mean? Like, it's just incredible. And I think it's also a great example of why many nations fail. They fail because they're not unified. Robert the Bruce, the Scottish lords, can't get out of their way. One of the finest performances by Mel Gibson. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, well, I'm still in my palate cleanser thing, but I'm going to elevate another movie here because I don't think it's actually Mel Gibson's best geopolitical movie, although Braveheart was on my
I know where you're going.
list.
I know where you're going.
His best geopolitical movie is We Were Soldiers, which is also one of the most haunting movies I've ever seen in my life. Based on a novel, the character that Mel Gibson plays is an American hero, like somebody you should learn about, just in general. But just as a depiction of like what actually happened in Vietnam, like it's just. It also stars Mel Gibson's wife in the movie is from Last of the Mohicans, as you probably know. Colonel Hal Moore is the character that Mel Gibson depicts, who just an incredible man and an incredible like scholar, like everything else.
Great pick, but we again skipped the pick, so I gotta go two now. Sorry.
You go two.
I gotta go two. So 22 is Braveheart, 23 is The Sound of Music, 24, I'm gonna go with another movie that came out in 1995. And this one is Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer, Hans Zimmer, Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington. Fuck you, this is Geopolitics. It's Crimson Tide.
There it is.
There we go.
I'm surprised it wasn't higher. I thought it was going to make an appearance higher.
Well, and you guys know I love this movie. I think it illustrates the awesome power of a hegemon, but it also illustrates how humans are critical in geopolitics. And many of us, I know you don't, because you are very sensitive to the role of humans. But I certainly, a much more systemic thinker, will often ignore them. And this is a movie that says, don't do that. Okay, then you chose We Were Soldiers at 25. At 26, this is actually a pick. I handed the mic off to someone who's not Western. Jacob and Marco are, basically two dudes from the West. I asked my good friend, Shanghai Macro, to give us...
Oh, he might steal what was next on my list. Let's see.
He picked The Last Emperor, actually.
Oh. Well, It was not next on my list, but it was number 19 on my list. And what a great pick and what a great movie. Like, incredible movie.
Incredible. 9 Oscars. It shows China slowly losing sovereignty. And it helps audiences really understand the century of humiliation. And this is a Western movie, right? 1987 movie, first movie ever filmed in the Forbidden City. And my good friend at Shanghai Macro, if you're not following at Shanghai Macro for Chinese insights, you are not doing your job. But this was the movie he picked. He could have picked many, many Chinese movies. I mean, the man is Chinese. He picked this one. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's haunting from the opening scenes of The Last Emperor and what his life was like as a young boy, and all the way up to him being used by the Japanese and him basically becoming a collaborator, and how that eventually, if we talked earlier about how Munich can fade to 9/11, you could fade Last Emperor to Mao. I mean, basically you have to, right? Like it's sort of a baton smashing thing there too, or a baton changing hands thing there as well. It's an unbelievable movie and highly underrated. It's really it's long. Like if you're gonna do it, like strap in, and it's gonna make you think like differently about the world. But it's very good.
All right, you're next.
I'm next, and I had Last Emperor was 19 on my list, but a little further up because I'm still in my palate cleanser department, and I think more relevant for those of us who are doing geopolitics is Wolf Warrior 2. I like Wolf Warrior 2. Like the original Wolf Warrior is also good. This is the perfect plane movie. Like if you just need a mindless shoot 'em up like epic movie, it's perfect, except it's from the Chinese perspective. I love that we're the bad guys. It's like the nondescript American accent white guys are the bad guys running around Africa doing terrible things, and the Chinese are the ones that are saving the day, like running around Africa, saving people, doing all the great stuff. It's this vigilante Chinese guy who goes off and doesn't follow orders, like he's all about doing the right thing. And it's important not just because I think that's China's heroic conception of itself. You can see them trying to inhabit that space that America's been comfortable inhabiting for decades. It's like, ooh, what would it be like to be the sophisticated, civilized entity going into the heart of Africa, like helping these people? Like, let's try it out. Let's do it with some guns and things like that. It's just great on a lot of different levels. And if you want to understand the phrase Wolf Warrior diplomacy, you have to go watch Wolf Warrior. Like this defined Chinese diplomacy for 5 or 6 years, and now Chinese diplomacy is about turning its back on Wolf Warrior diplomacy, so it's still defining Chinese diplomacy. So this movie actually really matters when you're thinking about what Chinese diplomacy looks like today and how you're understanding China's conception of itself and the world. And it's just fun. It's a fun movie.
My friend at Shanghai Macro, this was his second pick, so I'm glad that we carved out some space for that. Great job. Next, for me, another cute movie. I clearly am just into cute movies. I wanna sometimes feel good. Goodbye, Lenin. German movie. It's about transition. The main character is a young kid whose mom is a staunch member of the East German Communist Party. She collapses into a coma, and during her coma, East Germany unifies with Germany. When she wakes up, her children try to recreate the perception that everything is still the same so as not to upset her. Just incredible movie. It shows how quickly young people can deal with change and how difficult that is for old people, obviously caricatured and depicted in hyperbole due to her coma. But also, on a more basic level, it shows how unlinear geopolitics is and how that nonlinearity is both something that is jarring to us as humans and how quickly we can actually adapt to it. And that's why this is another very personal movie to me. It's about Germany. But whereas they're dealing with a country that suddenly becomes modern and Western and consumer-oriented, I saw the downfall in my case. And in both cases, you know what happens? You survive. You get on with life. You don't actually convert currency into gold or live in a bunker. Life goes on and you adjust to it. And that's what this movie is about. It's an incredible movie. And I think it's the second time we have a German movie on our list. I think underappreciated, I think, film culture in Germany.
Yeah. All right, sticking with my palate cleanser theme, I've got 2 more palate cleansers, and then I'm going to close out with some other heavy ones. But next on the palate cleanser list, maybe the ultimate, if we're talking about categories, maybe this is number 1 for the flag categories, or maybe not, I don't know. But I think Starship Troopers is one of the greatest geopolitical films of all time. I still remember seeing Starship Troopers as a kid. I remember thinking it was cool. Like, oh yeah, I want to sign up with these guys too. And I also want to take showers with Denise Richards. This sounds like a wonderful life. Like, what is wrong with this? And I get to go kill bugs? Like, the enemies aren't even terrible. But the way that society breaks, like what it means to be a citizen versus not a citizen, and what you have to sacrifice, and all the atrocities that we commit for going after these groups, and how you're getting subdivided into intelligence versus soldier versus Air Force, and propaganda too. Like it's a really good time, and I actually think ahead of its time when thinking about like what the future of well, maybe not the United States, but what does the future of some of these countries look like in a world where we're dealing with these things?
I think Starship Troopers is like Jordan Peterson's favorite movie.
Oh God! Well, I should take it off then, Jordan Peterson.
You know what I mean? Like I gotta tell you, even as a young kid.
But I like it ironically. Jordan Peterson is like wants to be the guy, like the teacher in the class who's like, you must be a citizen.
Right? No, but that's Jordan. That's him, right? Like men are men, women are women. Let's go kill those bugs.
Young people from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Join the mobile infantry and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship.
All right, so I was telling my colleague, my boss, the CEO of BCA about this list we were doing, and he said a movie that I think is the best, like one of the best movies. But I never thought of it as geopolitical. A Few Good Men. Now, why is A Few Good Men geopolitical? And I would say it's almost exclusively because of the speech by, of course, the incredible Colonel Jessup.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth! Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You weep for Santiago and you curse the Marines. You have that luxury. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know, that Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saved lives, and my existence, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, saves lives. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. We use words like honor, code, loyalty. We use these words as the backbone of a life spent defending something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very freedom that I provide, and then questions the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you pick up a weapon and stand a post. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
It's about the reality that you need men like me to be on that line. And it just gives you goosebumps when you think about that exchange between him and Tom Cruise, who represents the JAG Corps prosecutor, Daniel Caffey. It's an incredible exchange.
Yeah. And pour one out for Rob Reiner, the director.
That's right.
One of the grimmer news items I've ever come. I'm not even going to laugh at it. I mean, it's just like I can't even imagine. But he was the director of A Few Good Men, and I think it belongs in that category.
All right, we're close to the last, I think, 9. I've done a terrible job as an MC. I just want to apologize to everyone because the categories are out the window.
No, it's fine. I think we should go back through and we can see if we can make some sense of it.
We can do that, yeah. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Let's crush the last 9 to get to 40.
All right, the last of my palate cleansers. So enjoy the light stuff before we get back into the heavy stuff. And this is a little more finance driven. This is one that's become more geopolitical to me later on in life. But I think margin call belongs here. First of all, because I'll watch Jeremy Irons do anything. Second of all, if you want to watch the anatomy of a financial crisis and what these large investment banks, which are sovereign in and of themselves with how much money they're making, like their decisions like in that room, affected the entire global economy. It's nothing about geopolitics. It was nothing about spies or soldiers or war or anything else. It was just the Jeremy Irons character, looking wistfully out the window and saying, I don't hear anything. Like, let's completely fuck up the market tomorrow because we must survive. That is the only thing that matters. So I'll throw it in there.
I think it's a stretch to call it geopolitical, but...
It's a stretch. It's a stretch.
But I would argue that if you don't understand it, you no longer can call yourself a geopolitical strategist.
Mm.
If you cannot sit through Margin Call and understand a whole movie, I got to tell you, it's going to be tough for you in today's world. All right, next one. Here I'm just playing to my audience. Here I'm just buttering up my cousin, my dear friend. This was for you, baby.
Oh, I can't wait.
Contagion.
Ooh, yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I love a good pandemic one. The problem with the pandemic ones is that it's mostly like TV series. Like if Station 11 had been a movie, not a TV series, it'd be like almost #1 here. But yeah, Contagion is a very good one.
All right, well, I mean, we don't really have to talk about it much. Globalization, bats, social distancing. It's a great movie. It introduced concepts such as R0 to the public, which ended up being really relevant 9 years later. A funny note I found on the internet: in February 2021, British Health Secretary Matt Hancock revealed that watching the scramble for vaccines in Contagion inspired him to order a much larger quantity of COVID-19 vaccines for the United Kingdom than his advisors recommended.
Yeah, my only nitpick here is I think Outbreak is a better movie with Dustin Hoffman
I agree.
And Kevin Spacey, Morgan Freeman. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole pandemic or disease-related genre that we probably need to go into. That I
do agree. Outbreak is a much better movie. Yes. Okay.
All right, let's get serious again here. For my next one, is The Wind That Shakes the Barley. So we probably all know Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer or from Peaky Blinders, which is also great and
amazing.
Geopolitical. When the Peaky Blinders movie comes out, it'll have to be on this list probably, but right now
Inception.
It's just a TV show. Inception, yeah, I mean he's just incredible. But The Wind That Shakes the Barley is a 2006 war drama film that's set during the Irish War of Independence. And you've got Cillian playing one of these two brothers who initially join the IRA together to fight for independence, and then they actually find themselves on opposite sides of the Irish Civil War that follows Irish independence. And it talks about the tortured story there. So you get everything from resistance to colonialism, an independence war, and then the two brothers fighting on the same side, turning against each other in their own civil war. It's gut-wrenching. And it's also shines a light on a period of history that I think Americans skirt over way too much. I think we don't actually know anything about the UK and Ireland to the extent that anybody knows anything about this who's a millennial. They might think of Tony Blair and Bill Clinton and Good Friday. They don't understand the deep currents of animosity and history that flow between Ireland and the UK and what it all means. I was doing an event in Ireland, outside of Dublin a couple of years ago. And, I had dinner with the guys beforehand, and then the event was the next day. And I said, guys, I have this joke that I thought I might tell. I stole this one from Christopher Hitchens, where, the guy's driving down streets of Belfast in the middle of the night, and he gets pulled over by these guys with the balaclavas and everything like that. And they shine a light into the car, and they say, are you Catholic or Protestant? And the guy looks back at them, and he says, well, I'm Jewish atheist, actually. And the guys look at each other and they go, well, are you a Catholic Jewish atheist or a Protestant Jewish atheist? And the guys at the dinner laughed. And then very seriously, then the CEO leaned in and looked at me and said, you may not tell that joke tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay, I won't tell the joke. These things are still alive. Anyway, a great film.
No, that's a really good pick. And I'm going to pick something very similar, much older, 1981. Big thank you to one of our followers, Patrick Canyon, for reminding me of this one. This is Gallipoli. Peter Weir directed it. He did The Truman Show, Master and Commander. And of course, it is the breakthrough performance by Mel Gibson. It is about the failed landing of Allied forces in Gallipoli during First World War. And it's about Australia losing its innocence, growing up as a country. and it is probably the most important, film for Australia and Australians. And it's definitely a incredible historical moment. And I love that a movie was made about this pivotal battle. And in the end, it didn't matter because the Allies lost, but of course won the war. But for Australia and New Zealand, this is nation building stuff. So
next, as we're getting more serious on my list, I'm surprised this made it till now. It's Anthony Bourdain's favorite. Pour another one out. Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now is nominally about, of course, Vietnam, but really it's a film adaptation of Heart of Darkness, which is one of my favorite novels, maybe the most important novel of, I guess it was written in 1899. Do we call it the 20th century, the 19th century? And just, there's so many iconic scenes from this, especially smelling napalm in the morning with Robert Duvall. You got Martin Sheen and Marlon Brando at the height of his powers. There's some Harrison Ford. There's some Lawrence Fishburne. I mean, it's just
Harrison Ford movie. Makes a little just a cameo at the very beginning. I knew you were a Joseph Conrad fan. I spent a lot of time reading Conrad, so I love this movie. It's a great pick. I'm going to pick another war movie, which is it geopolitical? I mean, not really. Kind of. The conversation between the Somali warlord and the American general is geopolitical. But the movie's just badass. It's just a badass movie, and it is Black Hawk Down. In my opinion, the best war movie ever made. And that's controversial. Saving Private Ryan, there's many other war movies, of course, but I just love it.
No, it's great. I would take We Were Soldiers over Black Hawk Down, but it's up there. I mean, it's up there in its ability to communicate that. All right, well, that was my next one. So hold on, let me get ready here, because now we start to fish into some other things.
We have 4 left.
We got
2
4
you,
left.
2.
Okay. I struggled a little bit here at this next one because I know, based on some of the responses to your announcement on Twitter, that people want us to take Sicario at some point. And I think Sicario is great. And maybe I'll just take it because Benicio del Toro is awesome. But it also feels a little cartel porny to me, and I resist this impulse in the United States to treat everything in Mexico as cartel this and cartel that. And like Taylor Sheridan, incredible, not realistic.
No,
like he doesn't have.
He's not incredible. No, he's not. He's not. Like, stick to
objectively, he's churning out a lot of stuff, and he's getting paid $1 billion by Universal or whatever. So like, we should all be not incredible then. You know what I'm saying?
No, but listen, if you're gonna pick Sicario, I thought about this as well. You gotta pick Narcos, Mexico.
Yeah.
That's first
true.
And foremost, huge mad crush on Diego Luna. Like,
yeah, he's the man.
Like, he's just incredible. And Narcos Mexico does such a great and sophisticated way of depicting Mexico and its culture and its people and its regional diversity. Not all Mexicans are the same. They don't like each other. They don't like Mexico City. It's so much more sophisticated than Sicario. Like Sicario is just like, like you said, you nailed it. It's like just narco porn.
Yeah, so it basically is just narco.
But fine, let's put it there so people are like, yay, we put something there. I'm going to put, the next movie I'm going to put is, like, this is also, like, kind of soft porn, but, like, The Last Samurai is a good movie.
I love The Last Samurai. I love Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I mean, it's Tom Cruise and Ken Watanabe. So, like, what do you want?
And it does a good job, like, depicting in a simplistic way the clash between the Meiji Restoration and the samurai and the conservative elements of society and modernizing Japan. Like, it does, like, it's okay. Yeah. Like, it gets it into the consciousness. It's okay. Yeah. It's fine.
All right, 2 more.
All right, 2 more. I mean, I have too many on my list. So I'm going to err on the side of what I like the most and what is not necessarily better. Because there are some on, like, I mean, we'll do our honorable mention list, but like Dr. Strangelove probably belongs here. The Hunt for Red October probably belongs here.
Yeah.
But like, personally for me, and there's no Star Wars on this list, and Dune was my only real science fiction one, but there's another niche one here that I'm going to recommend to people, which is Star Trek Insurrection. It's Captain Picard. It's the Next Generation crew. It's more of like an extended episode. That's one of the reasons I like it. It's one of the few Next Generation movies I thought really did well. And it's about this planet where basically people live forever because there's this radiation in the rings around their planet that regenerates their bodies. And nobody has figured out about it, but they discover it. And they discover it because there's these group of people who think they can take the radiation and create all these medical treatments for it. Turns out the people who want to take the radiation used to live on the planet and left because they wanted to experience the world and were exiled, and now they're coming back. And the Federation becomes complicit in removing the locals from this planet in order to get their resources. And Picard and the entire crew go AWOL to resist. And it's all, I mean, to quote Captain Picard, one of my great role models, it's all about the forced relocation of a people and how even something as noble as the Federation is going to engage in the forced relocation of a people for the greater good and these moral compromises and things like that. So I just think it's, if you like Star Trek and if you like geopolitics, like this one has always affected me just because of its themes.
So
but it's very idiosyncratic. Like it's probably not.
I like it.
Probably doesn't belong to the list.
No, it's cool. Look, I was going to take Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy just due to peer pressure. But fuck John Le Carre. When like George made us read his novels to like feel what it's like to be a spy, I was like, shut up. Nobody cares. These people are like, oh my God, the internal conflict of spying on people. Shut up. You like it. You're a sociopath. Don't pretend you don't like it. So no, I'm not going to put it on. I don't find any of these movies interesting. I think they glorify in a weird, bizarre way. Zero Dark 30, not interested. It's clearly a propaganda movie. Shut up. Not interested. At all. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, not interested. I would rather watch Burn After Reading, where the Coen brothers absolutely make fun of this entire industry, than anything by John Le Carre.
Yep.
So I'm going to put The Hunt for Red October because it's an awesome movie. It's got Sean Connery and it's got plot progression and cool effects. And you know what? Tom Clancy's better than Jean Le Carre. There you go.
Yeah,
I know everyone's rolling in their grave like, no, you don't understand. Shut up. Like, stop pretending this shit is that serious.
All right. Are we out or do we have one more? Or do we have one more?
This is
pick?
40. Red October
40.
is 40.
God,
Yeah.
I have to. Okay.
Well,
we're done.
What are your honorable mentions?
Okay, my honorable mentions. Okay. Yeah, I had a bunch of honorable mentions, and I'm probably going to come up with more, and I apologize now for all the ones that I haven't gotten to. We'll have to do this again at some point. So my honorable mention list, a little bit long, so I'll just breeze through them. I love Top Gun Maverick. I love the initial Top Gun. It's another one of these Tom Cruise films. It's great. It's fun. I like Top Gun Maverick. I'll make Top Gun Maverick geopolitical by also noting that like the enemy should be China, but it's not China because they knew that if it became China, they'd never sell the movie. So they have to get rid of the Taiwan patch from the first movie, and they have to make it, some nondescript Asian country, blah, 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 blah. That, one of the reasons I love Top Gun Maverick is because you don't know who the enemy is. It's literally just about the mechanics of it and everything behind it. They never explicitly say it. So Top Gun Maverick. Shout out to Nate Hughes, who was the first one to tell me World War Z was a geopolitical movie. Oh, yeah. Which it definitely is. Yep. In your zombie flicks.
Great point.
Belongs there.
The book is much better than the movie, but yes.
Yeah. Hotel Rwanda is there.
Gag.
I know.
Oh my God.
But good. Also in the categories of epics, The Mission was really high up for me. That's with Jeremy Irons, Liam Neeson, Robert De Niro. It's a really good one because it's about, the Mission actually probably should be on the list. For those of you who don't know, it's about these Jesuits who go, they're trying to civilize the locals. Then the Spanish cede the territory to the Portuguese. The Portuguese are not interested in civilizing them. They just want them as slave labor. And so the priests have to decide whether they're going to fight the Portuguese with their new converts. Like, it's a great movie, great music. Heartbreak Ridge, I talked about last time. Mel Gibson, The Patriot, another Mel Gibson movie on it. Doctor Strangelove. And then the three others to round out the honorable mention list. His Finest Hour, Gary Oldman, Winston Churchill, sort of talking about, the moments where Churchill becomes who he is and how precarious his political situation
that's a good one. Yeah, that should be up there.
Kelly's Heroes. This is going to be a real niche one.
Yes, very niche. But hey, I grew up with that stuff. We didn't have any money for anything better than that.
Yeah, well, Clint Eastwood, and Don Sutherland going behind enemy lines to rob a German bank, like just while they're there, like why not? Seems like it's a good time. And then like a really niche one, if you're really looking for like a dark movie to settle into, it's called The Wedding Song. It's about a Jewish woman and a Muslim woman in Tunisia during World War II who are best friends when they're kids and then find themselves on opposite sides as Tunisia gets embroiled in World War II. And there's religious lines here, there's societal lines, there's Nazis. It's a very like dark and twisty movie about the relationship between two women that gets very geopolitical too, and I think is underrated. So that's my honorable mention list.
All right, mine are Dunkirk. I feel bad that we don't have Nolan.
Yeah.
Just because he's Nolan. Don't really have any other good reason to have him there. And then the other ones I have here. Rocky IV.
Yeah, no, Rocky IV belongs on it. I can't believe I forgot Rocky IV. God, terrible.
And then let me just see what I missed. Okay, and then The Kingdom. I like The Kingdom. It's Jamie Foxx in Saudi Arabia. Like, good movie, good plot, good acting. The Message, niche movie. I think it was made in the 70s. It's about the rise of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
It does not depict the Prophet Muhammad because you're not allowed to depict him as a human being. And so it has to use some real interesting camera work to deal with that. But it goes into the rise of Islam in the very, very early days. So The Message is, I think, a very, very decent movie. Apocalypto, kind of bizarre to be a geopolitical movie, but it would fit into our collapse category. I mean, that's what it's about.
Sure.
And then finally, and I think it's awesome to end on this note. Always look on the bright side of life. Doo-doo. The Life of Brian.
Splice that in too. One of the best. One of the best. Like, really.
The People's Liberation Front of Judea. No, the Judean Liberation Front. It's just like, it is so good. It's just so smart. And if you don't like Monty Python, then you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. Let me tell you this right now. If you do not find Monty Python funny, you will not find Marco Papic palatable.
Yeah. A great pick. Like maybe, I mean, probably my favorite Monty Python movie.
I think so too. I mean, like, some of the other movies have more memorable, maybe scenes, but just, I think the plot carries better in The Life of Brian.
No, it's the best.
Okay, that's it. So let me recount what we got here. Number 1, Casablanca. Number 2, James Bond, up to the 1990s. Number 3, Dune, but supported by both of us. Number 4, Syriana, very, very safe pick, but decent. Number 5, Blade Runner. Number 6, The Last of the Mohicans. 7, Lawrence of Arabia. 8, Munich. 9, Waltz with Bashir. 10, Downfall. Battle of Algiers, number 11. Both of us had that very high as well. Pretty Village, Pretty Flame. That was a niche pick by me. A Serbian movie about the war in Bosnia. The Last King of Scotland. That was Jacob's pick, 13. 14, Charlie Wilson's War. As Jacob said, cute. There Will Be Blood. Jacob, not cute. Not cute. Very bloody.
Very bloody.
And oily. Number 16, Argo, another cute pick. Number 17, Mad Max Furiosa, Jacob's pick. Number 18, another cute pick by Marco. What's going on here? Burn After Reading, which I think is the best spy movie. John le Carré fans. There you go. Jacob with The Good Shepherd. He gets more serious there, 19. Marco with 20, Spy Game. 21, another Robert Redford, 3 Days of the Condor by Jacob. 22, Braveheart by Marco. 23, Sound of Music, Jacob. Love that pick. Love that pick. I think should be top 10. Great job, Jacob. Thank you for making sure we did not forget it. Crimson Tide, 24, because why not? Marco. 25, We Were Soldiers by Jacob. 26, The Last Emperor by Marco. 27, Jacob Goes Back to China for Wolf Warrior 2. 28, another foreign movie, Goodbye Lenin by Marco. 29, Starship Troopers. Jacob. 30, A Few Good Men, Marco. 31, Margin Call, Jacob. 32, Contagion. 33, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, Jacob. 34, Gallipoli. That's Marco's pick. Then 35, Apocalypse Now, Jacob. 36, Black Hawk Down. 37, Sicario. We got bullied into that one, Jacob.
We did.
38, The Last Samurai, Marco. 39, Star Trek Insurrection, Jacob. And 40, The Hunt for Red October, Marco. Do you want to recant any, take any away?
Yeah, I think we should ditch Sicario, and Rocky IV needs to be there.
Oh, so you're taking Rocky IV?
Yeah, Rocky IV definitely needs to be there.
Drago versus Rocky, man. Let's go.
Yeah,
when he works out in Siberia with the wood, just like, let's go.
Yeah.
All right, and I am going to replace, I think, I don't know. I gotta think about this. Just really, really, really want to put Life of Brian in there. Okay.
Put it in. Let's just make it a list of 41. Put Life of Brian is the palate cleanser at the end.
All right. Well, that's it. In terms of the categories, do you want to go through that, or are we good?
No, I think we call it. I think we come back. I think categories is a good thing to come back to. So let's come back maybe in a future episode and do categories. Or we come back and do like TV series, because I think that's a whole nother conversation too.
That is good too, yes. Well, I grew up on BBC because that's all we had in Yugoslavia money for. So we bought a lot of BBC shows from the 80s and 90s. That's what I grew up on. So that's going to be a whole lot of British television shows
No, that sounds great. But yeah, let's save your voice, because you're sounding more and more like the Donald with each passing second. I think you've given it a good hero's try. So let's say you're welcome, listeners. There's your list of movies that you need to watch, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Happy New Year.
Thank you all.
Life's a piece of shit when you look at it. Life's a laugh and death's a joke, it's true. You'll see it's all a show, keep 'em laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh is on you.